Okay, today we're going to be working on two lessons, lesson 105 and lesson 110, because they have very, very similar concepts. All right, so we should going to start out on page 730, which is dividing by 10. Now we have to remember that we know our math facts. We know multiplying by 10. Um, if we multiply any number, let me put my board up here. If we multiply any number times 10, it's going to be this number with one zero behind it. So for example, 25 times 10 equals this number with one zero behind it. Okay, so just remember those little simple facts when we're doing division. Um, we know our multiplication is going to help us with our division. All right, so it says we've used 4 steps to do division before. Remember we did divide, multiply, subtract, bring down. Now they didn't say compare. Don't forget that important step. You should always write compare here. And I'm going to put it right in my teacher's book because that's important. That helps us catch our mistakes. So the problem they're doing first is 432 divided by 10. So we know that 10 can't get into 4. So we take 10 into 43. Well, if we know our math facts, we know that 10 times 4 is 40. And that's going to get us really close. So we put our 4 on top of the 3 because we're using the whole 43. We're not going 10 into 4. So place value here is really important. Some of you quite frequently will end up putting your answer over here, and you're going to get it marked wrong because if I put the 4 on top of the 4, it's really worth hundreds and not tens. So be really careful. Even the book makes mistakes. So the second step in my division problem would be to multiply 10 times 4 and get 40. Now, I wrote error right in my book because you can see where they made a mistake. This 40 should be underneath the 4 and the 3. So make believe it's there because that's where it should be. And once we do that, the next step would be to subtract 43 minus 40 and we'll get 3. And then we bring down that 2. So they kind of do it all in one shot. They don't put this arrow in here like we do. It's the 3 is my difference, and then we bring down the 2 after we compare. All right, so the next step would be to do 32 divided by 10. If I know my math facts, 3 times 10 is 30. And of course, they also don't have their subtraction marks in here, which I don't know why this page is really messed up. So then we do 32 minus 30, and we get 2. Is 2 less than 10? Yes, so I have a remainder of 2. Okay, now here's what's pretty cool about dividing by 10. It says, notice that the remainder, that's this, is the last digit of the dividend. This is the dividend. Remember, in the den, in the house? When dividing by 10, there will be no remainder if the last digit of the whole number dividend is a 0. So if this number inside here, if this would have been a 0, there would be no remainder if I was dividing by 10. But if I am dividing by 10 and it's not a 0, this number is actually going to be the remainder. So kind of look at this. I circled it. There's a 43 up here and a 43 in here, and there's a 2 here and a 2 here. So it's kind of like a trick. If it's 432 divided by 10, this answer is going to be 10 times 43, right? And there's 2 left over. It's right there. Your answer is hidden right inside the dividend. I really, really like that. All right, so you're going to be doing a couple of those examples in your lesson practice today. Come back to this page if you need a review. But now I want you to turn to page 762. I'm going to write it up here so you can see it. And here's dividing by multiples of 10. Okay, so let's read through this together. I'm going to have some things marked to show you how important it is. In this lesson, we'll begin by dividing by multiples of 10. Multiples of 10, remember that word sounds like multiply, are the numbers 10, 20, 30, 40, 50, 60, and so on. To help us divide by a 2-digit number, we may think of dividing by the first digit only. So here's what that means. Okay. If I have 72 by 20, that kind of gets me a little confused. So they're saying, make believe you don't see the 0 here and just look at 2 to 7. How many 2's will get into 7, right? That's what they're going to focus on. So let's watch. We use the easier division to estimate the answer to the more difficult division. Since there are 3 2's, in 7, because 2 times 3 is 6. That'll get us very close. We estimate that there will also be 3 20s in 72, because 3 times 20 is 60. Because remember we did these before? We do this, and we know that that's a 6, and I just put the 0 back on, okay? That's what they're showing you. Since we're dividing 72 by 20, we write the 3 above the 2 in 72, because we know that 3 times 20 is 60, right? So they're showing you down here. And also they're telling you again, this is correct, this is incorrect. What do I always tell you about place value? So see, it's not just me. That I've been really all this time teaching you how valuable place value is. Okay, because if we write it over here, it means 3 ones. If we write it over here, it means 3 tens. Okay, and that's not true. So here it is. It's important to place the digits in the answer correctly. So now we're going to complete the multiplication and subtraction step. So 3 times 20 is 60, and there's no minus sign again. 7 minus 6 is 1, and 2 minus 0 is 2. So we know that 12 is less than 20, so we write it as a remainder. Okay, so all they're telling you here is if you have a number that's a multiple of 10 and a bigger number, don't get panicky. Just make believe you don't see the 2. Try to get 2, don't see the 0. Try to get 2 into the 7 to give you an estimate of what this number would be up here, and then just put it in the tens place. So here's an example. To help us divide, we mentally block out the last digit of each number. So instead of doing 127 divided by 30, we're thinking, crossing this out. We're looking at 12 here, and we're looking at 3. So we're saying 12 divided by 3. So I know that answer. I know that 3 times 4 is 12. So I'm thinking, okay, there's probably got to be about 4 30s in 127. So we're going to write the 4 up here, and then we're going to continue on this page so you can, oh, they didn't even show you the rest of the problem. So let me do it for you right here. I will get my board for you, make it a little easier. So they're doing 127 divided by 30. Okay, so they're thinking, okay, make believe you only see this. This is what I'm looking at. This is just for you to get a guesstimate. I like to call it a guesstimate of what the answer up here is going to be. Because we know that 30 can't get into 12, so the answer is going to go into 127. So my answer is going to have to go right at this place value, right? 30 can't get into 12, right? So I have to think in my head 3 times what is going to get me close to or equal to 12. And I know my math fact, so it's 4. So I'm going to try a 4 up here. Sometimes you're going to try a number up here and it might not work, and you're going to have to erase and try again. But again, I know that 3 times 4 is 12, and I got to put that 0 back on. So now I subtract and I get 7. Is 7 less than 30? Yes. So my answer would be 4 remainder 7. So use the trick by trying to just look at not this number and this number, but these two, just like I did over here, to give you a better guess of what goes on top of this problem. And you'll be doing some practice ones like this today, as well as the ones from page 730. Okay, so you'll have 2 separate entries to do in your dojo today. All right, hope that helps. If not, go back to those book pages and look over the examples.